Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back down under the mat. We are here to play a game, and we are, again, playing keep or cut. This time, we're doing it on tag teams. But we've got three different categories for these tag teams. We have Attitude Era tag teams.
Okay.
We've got Modern Day tag teams, and then we've got AEW tag teams as well.
Okay, I'm going in blind into this. This was organised by editor Luke, and Reece is now going to run it. So
I'm now going to run it. So let's just kick off.
So like we did
it.
on our previous videos, if you want to go have a look on our YouTube, there was the one we did keep trade cut on Attitude Era stars and women and stuff, where we pick who we wanted to keep. This time we're doing it tag teams.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So
there will be 9 in total,
and we're keeping 4.
We keep 4 and we cut 5.
Right. Gotcha.
So I'll read them out, and then we'll pick our first cut and go on from there.
So we're going to write them all down first, then decide our cuts. Okay, all right, I gotcha. And this time, for those of you that are playing at home, I put the grid up.
Got a grid. So if you're playing at home, do yourself up a grid and play along.
All right.
And then, most importantly, comment why you chose to keep or cut those tag teams.
And why we're wrong with our choices, because we will be.
Pop them below. Love ya. All right. Kicking it off with the Attitude Era. First tag team, we have the HARDYZ Boys.
Right. Okay, yeah. HARDYZ. Yep.
Second, we've got Rock and Sock Connection.
Okay, yeah.
That was poorly.
Your handwriting's not up to it today, is it?
No.
Felt like we were out all last night drinking at a concert. But
Next one, Los Guerreros.
ooh, that's Eddie and Chavo?
Yeah. Good. I always forget how to spell Guerreros.
Yeah, we all know what it means, though.
Yep. Tag team number 4. Too cool. There are some iconic tag teams in this already.
There's a lot of memories that are flooding back with all of these names. Yeah.
And number 5 is the Dudley Boys.
Okay, yeah.
Number 6, the Holly Cousins. Crash and Hardcore Holly.
Okay, yeah.
The Hollies. Number 7, APA. Number 8, the Brothers of Destruction.
Oh, sure. Okay, yep. Destruction, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And the last team? Is it Edge and Christian?
Yep, sure is.
Yeah, okay. All right.
You were getting worried for a second,
like,
weren't you?
they have to be
Edge
on
and
here,
Christian tag team number 9. All right, give yourself like 60 seconds maybe. Give a bit of a review. Think about who your first cut is going
I think I already know who my first cut is.
Oh, absolutely. Me too.
The Holly Cousins?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, boys.
Sorry, we are cutting the Holly Cousins. They are gone. Done and dusted. And as much as I did like Hardcore Holly,
Yeah.
you look at the talent on this roster that we've got right here, these 9 tag teams.
Yeah, look, Luke's picked well.
They are the duds.
The one thing I do, and I'll give Tiffany Stratton some props for still using, is the Alabama Slam, and the way Hardcore Holly used to do it, and
so
just
brutal.
whip people as hard as physically possible into the mat. That was brutal.
And then Crash's whole shtick about being like the most powerful heavyweight, the super heavyweight.
Super heavyweight, yeah.
Dude weighs like 100 pounds. All right, time to pick your first tag team that you would like to keep.
I mean, if you followed our YouTube channel since the start, one of the early drafts that we ever did was our favorite tag teams.
Yes.
And I remember that I had the number 1 pick in that draft.
Yeah, I'll let you pick your first pick.
I
right
picked
here.
Edge and Christian as the best tag team ever, so I'm going to have to keep them because I think they, of this list, they have to stay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Edge and Christian.
Right. So you've got Edge and Christian.
Yes.
I have picked the Brothers of Destruction first because
no way
I
saw that
am a
coming.
huge Kane mark, if you've paid any attention to this podcast, and I've also got an Undertaker tattoo. So I got to give them the respect they deserve. They're my number 1 pick.
Yep. Not very logical.
Cut number 2 out of 5.
I'm going to cut the Rock and Sock connection. Only because
Me too.
they were like a tag team for like 2 months.
And it was, one tag title run, and that was
It was
it.
very short.
Yeah.
Individually, I love The Rock and I love Foley.
Yeah.
But as a tag team in comparison to this list of talent, I think the Rock and Sock connection is one of the least valuable in terms of an actual tag team. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
outskis.
Great competitors on their own. The tag team was very entertaining at the time, but definitely like long-term longevity when you've got all these other ones, they don't stand a chance.
Yeah, okay.
Tag team number 2 that we are keeping. Who have you got?
I'm gonna have to go the Hardy Boys.
I'm going to go to the Dudleys.
Yeah,
I mean Dudleys.
Editor Luke will know this. Where he's obviously my brother. When we were growing up, there was a lot of backyard wrestling that was occurring. There was a lot of Matt and Jeff Hardy moves.
Don't try this at home.
I definitely cut holes in socks and put my hands into them so that I had the armbands like the Hardys.
Didn't everyone do that?
Yeah, of course they did.
Absolutely.
You made all the moves on the trampolines because of what those two boys did originally when they first came in. Everything they set up with Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, all the TLC stuff. I think the first 3 teams are pretty obvious to be picked between all of us. I think those are probably going to stay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to take the Hardys in this place and you'll take the Dudleys.
Yeah. Well, look. Yeah. There's just that era was just so iconic for those 3 tag teams: Edge and Christian, Hardy Boys, and Dudley Boys. Like they owned that division for at least a decade.
And they made tag team wrestling prominent. And like they were maybe not quite headlining pay-per-views, but they were like the key matches on pay-per-views.
Yeah, like you look at those 2 TLC matches that were in WrestleMania. Like that's everybody talks about them to this day. And that was WrestleMania 16 and 17. Like we just had WrestleMania 40 and people are still talking about something 23 years ago. Like insane. Third tag team to cut. I'm going with Los Guerreros. RIP Eddie, much respect, but again, with the caliber of teams that we have here, they're on the lower end of the stick.
I think this is going to be pretty similar. I'm also going to cut Los Guerreros. Mostly because, and maybe this is just my negligence to them when they were prominent in their era. I remember Eddie as Light, Cheat and Steal Eddie, a lot of his singles run, a lot of his stuff with Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio. I remember Chavo with a lot of his stuff.
Kerwin White.
I remember him as Kerwin White doing the golf shtick, but I do remember a lot of his cruiserweight stuff. I don't actually remember a lot of Los Guerreros as a tag team.
I do remember him a little bit during the Ruthless Aggression era. Yeah. I know they had a run with the SmackDown tag titles when they were there, but again, they were the heel tag team, and me being younger, it was like, I don't like heels, I like the faces sort of thing. Yeah. I hadn't yet matured and like started liking the bad boys and the heels and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, okay. But yeah, I think that them being cut individually, both great wrestlers. I never vibed with them as a tag team in that same sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the next tag team to keep is probably obvious for me anyway. Yep. It's going to be the Hardy Boys.
Okay.
Like I could have just done it last round with you, but I think for me, as much as you love Jeff and putting the stockings on or socks or whatever you want to call them on the arms and pretending to be Jeff and stuff, I feel like, get the tables to me was more iconic. So they kind of rank above the Hardy Boys for me.
I think Teenage Me probably gravitated a little bit closer to Lita at the time. So I think that might have also swayed me as well.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Because the Dudleys had Stacey Keibler for a little bit, but it wasn't quite the same influence that she had on them as what Lita did.
Yeah.
Like when you got the extra person for everything, and there was Lita for the Hardys, there was Spike for the Dudleys, and there was Rhino for Edge and Christian.
The WrestleMania 17, man.
It was all Lita, man.
You know it.
So I'm going to keep the Dudleys, though.
Yeah.
As my next pick. Same thing as you, like I said, it has to be the TLC teams. The iconic, what up spot. The fact that even now, 20-odd years later, all he has to do is shove Devon, and the whole crowd knows what to yell. 1, 2, 3.
Get the tables!
Every time. Like, they are just so iconic. You've got to keep them.
Yeah, absolutely. Next tag team to cut. Tag team number 4 on the chopping block. I'm going to let you go first because I know you've got some...
I have some strong feelings on all 3 of these tag teams.
I know. And this is like really hard territory. You pick your favorites up front.
Yeah.
And then you're left with hard choices like this. Because Too Cool, entertaining as crap. We all loved Too Cool. APA, I thought were really iconic at times.
Yep.
But I feel like out of the 3 teams I've got left, I've still got Edge and Christian. Part of me wants to cut them just to piss you off.
I mean, go for it. you were the one that looked like an idiot on the video. It's not me.
Maybe it'll get people talking.
I'm going to cut Too Cool.
Yeah.
I I was a huge Scotty 2 Hottie fan. I think he got did he get a little Intercontinental title run at some point?
I know he had like 90% of the roster had hardcore championship runs.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Worm was fun. I think he was probably underrated as a worker with, some of the stuff he was doing. And I loved the dance breaks and stuff when Rikishi was there and they put the glasses on and like that was so iconic with the three of them.
Yeah.
And Grandmaster Sexay as well. But quality-wise, they don't quite hold up. They are much more of a nostalgia act than what a lot of the other teams are.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think moving on to the last team that we have to pick, I've got to go with Edge and Christian. Like, I loved APA. Like, they are so iconic. Their backstage segments that they had with the door and, like, the playing blackjack and drinking and smoking and all that sort of stuff was so good. I think they're well underrated in the ring and they don't possibly get enough credit. But when you talk about accomplishments and what they meant to tag teams present and future at that time, I feel like you've got to go with Edge and Christian over APA.
I agree. That's why I picked them first.
It's a hard call.
I think my favorite story that I've told on this podcast before is around APA when one of the backstage producers of WWE in the late 90s owned a bar in somewhere in the US and wanted to get it refurbished. And so what he essentially did was go to WWE and say, hey, can you film a segment here, destroy my bar, write us off as a tax thing, and then I can refurbish it? And so they did. So APA just threw
Great
people
segment.
through the bar, smashed glasses everywhere, the whole thing. And that was legitimately them just destroying a bar, and away they went.
Yeah.
I think that was hilarious, but I can't pick them over Kane and Undertaker.
Right? We've got the same list, just in different orders.
I think when you read the 9 to me, I think I knew the 4 straight away.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
You couldn't not go with this 4. I mean, maybe Brothers of Destruction, those that, in terms of their careers, I don't ever think that them as a tag team really made or break either of their careers. I think that they were good together, but they weren't really together that long as a tag team.
No, because they kept fighting with each other.
Well, yeah, it's when you're brothers,
man.
you kill your parents or whatever, and you set someone on fire as a child, and all that. Like the whole story's behind them. Like, it makes sense as to why they would feud all the time. But yeah, I think that iconically, the double choke slam from just the two of them standing in the ring is such a nostalgia hit for you to see how good those two were together, and the way that they could make the Edge and Christians and the Hardys and that look good, because you're going up against two, nearly 7-foot blokes that could throw you around and make you look really, really good when they won the matches. They just added so much more to that division when they were in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than what the others did. So, yeah, all right. Easy, same 4 for us then. Hey?
Yep. Quick recap. So, number 1, I had Brothers of Destruction. Number 2, Dudley Boys. Number 3, Hardy Boys. And then number 4, Edge and Christian.
And I was Edge and Christian, Hardys, Dudleys, and Brothers of Destruction. So we keep the same 4.
Yep. All right.
Good to see we're on the same page for once, Reece.
Yeah.
What are we doing now? Going to the next
Yes, we will go to
series?
the modern era of tag teams.
Okay.
I don't have an eraser. There's one over there.
You can erase first.
We are unprepared.
No, I wouldn't say we're unprepared. We're just
Forgetful.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, so this is modern era. What are we classifying as modern era? Like Ruthless
Luke
Aggression
has
above?
written down 2000s to present.
Okay, all right.
So
the more newer ones.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and see if I can erase but keep my grid in for efficiency's
just gonna
sake. I'm
redo.
going to try and do it this way. All right, start reading them out. Who are we doing?
All right, number 1, we have the New Day.
Ooh, okay.
Perfect timing to have them on this list, seeing as we've got the 10-year anniversary
And
on
probably
Raw.
one of the best segments on Raw last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
If you have not seen that incredible loss from the New Day to Otis and Tozawa in like a minute, and then the breakdown argument between those two backstage, it is cinema. It is so well done between Kofi and Woods. Absolutely go and find that on YouTube and watch it, because it is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that might be foreshadowing their placement on this list.
I don't know. We've got a lot more good teams to come.
Do we?
Yeah.
Better than the New Day?
Well, tag team number 2 is the Usos. So, yes.
Great. Okay. New Day, Usos.
Tag team number 3 is the Shield. Interesting
Oh,
pick,
this-
Luke. Interesting
This
pick.
has started strong. Okay.
And as per, we have to capitalize that.
Oh, Sierra Hotel.
Yeah. Tag team number 4. He's put down the Viking Raiders, but they're now the War Raiders.
Okay.
So we're going to go War Raiders.
Whoa.
Number 5, RK Bro. Hey?
What? Didn't say anything.
Number 6, Street Profits.
They want the smoke. Okay, yeah.
I don't want the smoke. I'm good.
You don't?
No. Number 7, The Bar.
The bar.
The Bar.
So who? Okay, well, I'll ask some qualifying questions after this, just so
Yep.
you know. Yeah.
Number 8, Imperium.
Imperium. That is a very modern one. Yep.
And then last but not least, American Alpha. Chad Gable and Jason Jordan.
Oh, American Alpha.
American
Okay,
Alpha.
Okay. So my qualifying questions that I have for you here on this one, Reece.
Yes.
The bar
The Bar.
is that any combination of Sheamus? No, that's just Sheamus and Claudio, right?
Yes.
So it's not with when they had Rusev and all that sort of stuff. That was the
That was the League of Nations. That's something else entirely.
okay. But the bar was just Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And the Shield would be any combination of Seth, Dean, and Roman.
Well,
or was
why-
predominantly Seth and Dean.
No, it was
No,
Seth and Roman. That's my thing because Seth and Roman held the tag titles. I know they did the revival before Roman got leukemia again, and that was when Seth and Dean won the tag titles, and then Dean turned on Seth.
Yep.
Editor Luke left no notes.
No
Jeez,
notes.
Can't English.
Yep.
No notes. So I guess we'll go with any iteration.
Okay.
Seeing as like all 3 held the tag titles at one point. Imperium, I'd say that would be Ludwig and
Vinci. Yep.
Because they've held the tag titles as well.
Okay.
In NXT.
Okay.
All right.
First pick. I'm
Who are we cutting first?
Oh, we're cutting?
We cut first.
Okay, bro.
Absolutely.
I don't care.
I do not care.
I hate Matt Riddle.
I'm not a fan of Matt Riddle either. That's the only comment I have. And it really sucks. It was entertaining, but Matt Riddle's just a dickhead. Plain and simple. Don't like him.
What was that show you made me watch the other weekend?
Oh,
MLW?
we watched MLW last week. I can't remember what it was called, but it had Matt Riddle on it. We had Bobby Fish. We had Dijak.
Yeah.
In theory, it was a stacked card.
It was-
but it was an absolute mud show.
It was terrible.
Absolute mud show.
I can't remember the match that whoever Matt Riddle fought, but he's got like a world title shot or their title shot coming up
Yeah.
against some 55-year-old Japanese wrestler that I don't remember the name of. Yeah, look, no thanks. Get rid of RK, bro. First one I'm going to keep, though, is I'm going to keep the New Day.
I'm going to go with the Usos first because
Yeah,
I think they were arguably better.
I think that is definitely arguable. I don't think that you can really query one or the other. I think
that they're both definitely up there, but I feel like the Usos, but like it's so iconic and it's probably going to telegraph the next pick. But those two, the feuds that they had over the years,
oh yeah,
the chemistry those two teams have, bar none. Some of the best modern era tag teams.
and I think that you can see that in the Usos, like your pick specifically, that 10 years ago with the half face paints doing the huckers and stuff when they were coming out, they were fun all the way through now to the Bloodline Usos.
Yeah.
Even though for the last year or and a bit, they've kind of separated and been singles people, the second they got back into the ring together, their super kicks together are spot on crisp.
Yeah.
The 1D is exactly as it was. Those two they know exactly what they are doing. They were a fantastic tag team.
And I remember the first time when they made that character change from doing the face paint and the haka to starting that whole heel turn and doing the Uso Penitentiary.
Yeah.
That was just magic TV. They were just on fire every week.
Yep.
That character change really helped develop them as promos.
My second cut is going to be Imperium.
I'm going to cut the Street Profits.
Oh, I'm cutting Imperium mainly because I followed them mostly on the main card.
Yep.
And they were Gunther's lackeys.
Yeah.
on NXT and NXT UK when they had a bit more of a depth.
They kind of had, they had their own depth. They had their own like identities as well.
Yeah.
But like once they got that call up to the main roster, they really like prominently became lackeys. They were there,
especially your
taking
boy
the beanies that Gunther should have been taking.
Yep.
So Gunther could remain looking strong.
And especially your boy Vinci, like never got his time to shine.
He saw him backstage last week talking to Carmelo Hayes.
Just hanging out, get his paycheck.
Maybe that's your next future tag team star.
Maybe he's the fourth if you ever do another IC title match with.
Hey, there we go.
Throw him into that. But yeah, no,
There we go.
I'm cutting Imperium.
Yeah. As I probably telegraphed, I'm picking New Day next as number 2.
Picking the Usos.
Different order, but same result. Like you just time and time again we say it. Like when we did the tag team draft, we picked these and we said the same thing. Like their chemistry, what they've been able to do for the tag team division in the last like 10 to 15 years that those two teams have been together, untouchable.
Yep, agree.
Plain and simple.
And like the cage matches that they've had, a best of 7 tag team series that they had, like some of the matches between New Day and Usos are the best tag team wrestling you'll ever see. And I think my biggest point to this too is this was all in spite of Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Who was prominently known to not like tag team wrestling.
And he still gave them the spotlight
And
that
they were
deserved.
just that good that they had to.
Yeah. Next team that we're cutting. I'm going to pick the Bar.
You're cutting the Bar.
I'm cutting the Bar.
You're cutting the Bar. Rough. I'm going to cut the Street Profits.
Yeah. It's rough.
Look, I remember just pre-pandemic WWE era when the Street Profits were like absolutely popping. And they had the red cups falling from the roof and they were everywhere.
Oh, those are the days, man.
And like they were so hot and it just didn't go anywhere. And then they put them with Lashley and that didn't go anywhere. Now they're going with B-Fab and that's going nowhere. And they've kind of
technically
plateaued.
they should be disbanding because Montez came out and said if we don't win the tag titles, that's it. Profits are done.
Well, they haven't won the tag titles. So
Yeah.
I mean individually
they did have an interference in that match, but
individually
You
I think they're
said
both really good wrestlers. I think Tez, his athleticism is ridiculous. The fact that he can launch over the top rope to go outside by doing like a front flip is crazy.
Yeah.
Angelo, for his size, has incredible movement.
yeah.
They've never booked them well as a tag team in comparison to what some of these other tag teams have been. So I've got to cut the streak.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. We've seen people all over social media this year calling for them to have another opportunity.
Yeah.
But it just hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes soon. Otherwise, it's probably another team that's going to
Move
end up
them to
leaving.
Raw because the Judgment Day suck as the champions.
Bang.
Please.
Bang on. Have Street Profits go over and beat them for the titles.
Yep.
Just do it. Third team to pick.
To pick.
Yes. I will be going with one of the teams that I picked in our draft, and that is the Shield.
The Shield. I'm also picking the Shield.
We're too similar. We're too similar.
This seems fairly obvious as to what we're doing.
Yeah. So, to try and harken back to what I said during that draft, yes, Dean, Roman, and Seth, as individual characters on their own, going solo, they have gone leaps and bounds, and they are literally the pinnacles of Raw, SmackDown, and AEW currently. At one point, all Shield members were champions in their respective companies, and that's a crazy stat to think of.
And wasn't
that they
that
were
also
singles champions.
All 3 of them were the world champion in one night.
Yeah,
too?
that too. But we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for their stupendous run that they had as the Shield.
Wouldn't we also not have that if it wasn't for CM Punk bringing him up to the main roster? Just quietly.
There you go.
Long-term storytelling, Roman Reigns.
Absolutely. I don't think there's much more for me to say on that front, unless you
No, look, you're right. And I think the way that they changed the tag team wrestling by having the 3 of them, and the way they were coming through the crowd, and that different aura that they brought, like they took what the Nexus idea, was it the Nexus?
Yeah.
The
NXT.
Yeah. When they first came in and they like destroy everything and we didn't listen to everybody and Daniel Bryan got fired because he choked someone with a tie. They took that mentality but then made it cool. They put it all in the tactical gear. They were badasses. They were cool. They didn't have to talk too much to start with. They would just this awesome looking, coming through the crowd, beating everybody up, dominant force, and no one knew what it was.
Yeah,
and they changed the way that was done, and then all three of their careers has just rocketed since then.
Yeah, and you look at like they were only a tag team for less than 3 years. Survivor Series 2012 was when they came in, and then they disbanded like June 2015 or 2014. Like,
you're right.
a very, very short tenure as a tag team, but the impact they had in that time is just unparalleled.
Yep, agree.
Next team to cut, team number 4.
American Alpha.
Imperium for me.
Okay. I'm cutting American Alpha because I didn't really watch them a lot. I love Chad Gable, but this was when he was still fresh, new to the main roster. This was pre-Shorty G.
Yeah.
So he hadn't got ruined yet.
Shorty G.
But also this was around the weird time when they decided to make Jason Jordan Kurt Angle's son, legitimate son. When you had Chad Gable right there. He's right there. Like Kurt Angle, Olympic hero, Chad Gable, Olympic wrestler. Like you could all...
Jason Jordan was never in the Olympics.
I'm not going to say this in a disrespectful way, but 2 white guys. He was right there. And you went to the African-American guy, not Chad Gable. So I think that my disagreement for this as a tag team is based purely around the stupidity of booking them.
But that's absolutely just Vince stupidity booking.
Absolutely.
Oh, this guy's bigger. He's more musclier. Boom. Let's do that.
Yeah.
He saw, and that's why he got rebranded Shorty G, because Vince had no faith in him.
Yep.
And you look at the character that Triple H has developed Chad Gable into.
Yes.
Bar the like losing all the time. His character now and his in-ring performances trump anything that he was doing back then as well.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I've got to cut him.
Yeah. We've already touched on cutting Imperium, so I won't expand too much on there. But on that light, I will let you know that my final pick for this is American Alpha.
You're keeping them.
I'm going to keep American Alpha over War Raiders.
Okay.
And I think because I was there for when they came in and started as a tag team in NXT, and I caught their whole NXT tag team run.
Yeah.
That's why I'm picking them, because they had some absolute barn burners with FTR, with the Ascension.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of other, I'm sure DIY was in that situation as well, and Street Profits. Like that whole black and gold era was just phenomenal matches every week, every pay-per-view.
Okay. All right.
American Alpha was part of that, and they need their dues.
Well, I'm going to do the exact same argument as you, but pick the War Raiders for their sick matches in the black and gold and all the stuff that they did with Gargano and Ciampa when they first... All I remember their black and gold pay-per-view takeover matches that they had with Aleister Black and Ricochet. A lot of those tag team matches they had when they first came up, when they got, turned into the Viking experience, and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing?
Funnily enough, that's, Luke put it down as the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, so. Well, that's what they were called, which means I'm cutting the bar. But yeah, like that. And then also, even though they were booked into a terrible corner with that Viking stuff, those Viking rules matches that they had with the New Day,
they were still so fun.
And Chad Gable and stuff, they were so good.
And let's not forget the... I can't remember what they called it, but the feud that they had with Street Profits during the pandemic.
Yes.
And they were doing the like, you can do this, I can do better sort of thing, with like playing golf, throwing axes, and just like playing basketball, all this dumb shit. And every segment you had Ivar with the turkey leg and the lady like, oh, you're handsome, and touching his beard. It's just every time. Really entertaining.
So yeah, I'm giving War Raiders, you're keeping American Alpha.
Yep.
Both probably for the same reasons, just a different team. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a very close call, but I remember really enjoying what American Alpha was doing in Black and Gold NXT.
Yeah.
Not to say that I didn't enjoy the War Raiders, but I just think American Alpha could have been so much more, and I really cut that they didn't get that because of the stupid Kurt Angle son angle that happened.
Yeah, and then Jason Jordan's injury. I mean, he's a producer backstage now.
He's doing very well.
Every time there's a brawl, he's one of the first guys that comes running out in his suit, so he's still going well for himself. But they were cut short.
A quick recap, I've got the Usos at number 1, New Day at number 2, Shield at 3, and then American Alpha at 4.
And I've got New Day at 1, Usos 2, The Shield at 3, and War Raiders.
Very close. Very close.
All right, I think we're done, Reece. Thank you.
We've got AEW tag teams still.
Let's do that. Let's do our own AEW video.
All right. We'll cut it out. We'll do its own video because we need to give some AEW some respect.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know who your picks and your cuts were down in the comments below, and let us know
Before
why.
we go, let's ask our viewing audience that have stayed around to put in the comments, if you have to pick between New Day, Usos, Edge and Christian, and Dudley's, who's your one?
Who's your one? Oh, wow. That's...
Because, I mean...
Be put on the spot like that. That is a rough choice.
We've split it on Attitude Era and New Style, and I think that it's like, you could say that Edge and Christian, Dudley's, HARDYZ is pretty clear 1 to 3, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think both of us now agree New Day, Usos, and Shield 1 to 3 is the thing. If you were to have a War Games match, 3 teams versus 3 teams, who wins?
Oh, okay. Like that. Oh. I'm going to go with the Usos, New Day, and Shield. I reckon they would absolutely decimate them.
Nah, I'm going to go with Attitude Era.
At least we're not agreeing on something for once.
Good to know. Good to know.
All right, let us know who you would pick in that situation. New Day, Usos, and Shield versus HARDYZ, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Put your comments down below. Thank you for tuning in. Again, let us know what your picks were. Comment down below. Thank you, and we will wrap it up there. We have been Down Under the Mat, Mr. Dan Danielson, Roddy Reece, Pool Table of Relevancy, Madison Square Garage. We'll see you next time.